She didn't say it like an insult. That was what made it so easy to believe. We were sitting at a table with 6 people. Thursday night, around 8:15. Nothing serious. Just dinner. Just conversation. I said something about a project I had been working on. Not even a big claim. Just progress. She smiled. Not at me. Around me. Then she corrected what I said. Soft voice. Calm tone. Like she was helping. 2 people at the table looked down at their plates. One of them gave a small nod. Like something had been fixed. I laughed. Just enough to move past it. She picked up her glass. The conversation moved on without me. That was how it always worked. And for a long time, I thought that meant it wasn't a problem. It took me 2 years to understand what she had been doing. And by the time I did, I was already someone I didn't recognize anymore. Before I get into what happened that night, I need to go back a little, because none of it makes sense without understanding how I got there. It didn't start with that dinner. It started 2 years earlier. I met Claire through a mutual friend. Saturday afternoon, around 2 p.m., a small coffee place. Outdoor seating, metal chairs, slightly uneven table. She was already there when I arrived. Phone face down, sitting straight. She looked up once, just long enough to register me, then back to her screen. When we were introduced, she smiled. Polite, measured, not warm, not cold, just controlled. I remember thinking she seemed put together, more than most people I knew. At that point, my life was simple. Work, gym, home, mid-level role. Nothing impressive, but stable. I had plans. They just weren't urgent. Claire felt different from that. More precise, like everything about her had already been decided. She asked questions early, the kind that didn't leave much room for vague answers. What do you actually want long-term? Not what I was doing. What I wanted. I gave her something reasonable. Growth. Progress. Moving up. She nodded, but it wasn't agreement. It felt like she was placing it somewhere. We started seeing each other after that. Dinner once or twice a week. Sometimes weekends. At first, it felt normal. Easy to explain. She was attentive. She remembered details. If I mentioned something once, she would bring it up later. You said you're going to look into that certification. Not asking. Reminding. It felt like accountability. Like someone was paying attention. And I liked that. Most people in my life didn't question much. They accepted things as they were. Claire didn't. She would pause before responding, like she was choosing the exact right words. And when she spoke, it carried weight. That sounds fine. She said that once, when I told her about a project. Not good. Not interesting. Fine. I laughed it off. Told myself she just had higher standards. Over time, those moments started to stack. Nothing obvious. Nothing you could call out. Just small adjustments. The way she would rephrase what I said. The way she corrected details that didn't matter. The way she compared things. Mark handled something similar last year. He approached it differently. Not better, just different, but always landed the same way. Slightly off. Friends noticed before I did. Ryan mentioned it one night, around 11 p.m., a bar we used to go to. You've been quieter lately. I shrugged it off, said I was focused, which was true, just not in the way I thought. I started paying more attention to how I spoke, choosing words more carefully. I stopped bringing up ideas unless I was sure, really sure, because with Claire, anything unclear got adjusted, and those adjustments stayed with me, longer than they should have. I remember one Tuesday morning, around 7:30, standing in front of my closet, holding a shirt I used to wear all the time. I put it back, not because she told me to. She never told me directly, but she had said once, that style feels a bit outdated. Just once. And that was enough. I didn't notice it happening in real time. The shift was slow, like lowering the volume on something. Month after month, until you forget what it sounded like before. I still thought I was myself, just improved, more refined, more aware. If you've ever adjusted yourself piece by piece to fit someone else's expectations, you already know how natural that can feel. If that sounds familiar, stay with me. And I kept going. The relationship became the most real thing in my life because it shaped everything else. Work decisions, how I spoke, what I thought was worth saying, Claire never raised her voice, never said anything openly harsh. But she didn't need to. The message was always there, just subtle enough to pass as normal, and consistent enough to stay with me. Looking back, there wasn't a single moment where everything changed. It was accumulation, small corrections, small comparisons, small moments that didn't feel like anything, until they did. And by the end of those 2 years, I had stopped noticing the difference between who I was and who I had become. The first real sign something was wrong didn't come from her. It came from a room full of people who saw it before I did. It was a Thursday night, around 8:15. Same group, same table near the window. We had been there enough times that no one asked where to sit anymore. It just happened. Claire sat across from me, back straight, phone beside her glass. Mark was there. Ryan, too. A couple of others I had seen often enough to recognize patterns. Who ordered first? Who spoke the most? Who filled silence? Conversation moved the way it always did. Work, travel, small updates. Nothing serious. Nothing that required anyone to commit to a real opinion. Menus stayed open longer than they needed to. People talking while deciding. Someone mentioned a trip. Another talked about a promotion. The kind of conversation where everything sounds productive, but nothing actually matters. At one point, Mark brought up something about scaling a project. Half a joke, half a complaint. That shifted the table slightly. Just enough. Then someone asked what everyone else had been working on. Not directly at me, but it moved around the table. Mark answered first. Confident. Clear. Then it reached me. I started explaining a project. Something I had been building quietly for a few weeks. Not something I had told Claire much about. Not because I was hiding it. Because I wasn't sure how it would land. It involved a small shift in direction. More ownership. More risk. I kept the explanation simple. Or at least I thought I did. Halfway through, Claire smiled. Not interrupting. Just waiting. The kind of pause that makes you aware you're still talking. Then she leaned slightly forward. I think what he means is... And she rephrased everything. Cleaner. Shorter. More structured. She removed the uncertainty. Replaced it with something more presentable. It sounded better. That was the problem. Because it wasn't exactly what I said. But it was close enough that no one questioned it. Everyone nodded. The conversation shifted to her version. Mark responded to her. Not me. Ryan followed. A question came up, directed at her. She answered it, like it had always been her idea. No one looked at me. Not intentionally. Just naturally. I didn't correct it. I didn't interrupt. I just sat there, fork in my hand, food untouched. There was a moment, brief, but clear. Ryan glanced at me, then looked away. Not uncomfortable, just aware. That was new. Usually, these things passed unnoticed. Or maybe I thought they did. But that night, it landed differently. Not louder, clearer, like something had finally come into focus. I noticed small things I had ignored before. The timing of her interruptions. The way she stepped in just before I finished. The way she softened it so it didn't feel like interruption. The way people accepted it. Without hesitation. Without checking. I finished my drink faster than usual. Didn't say much after that. No one asked why. Claire kept talking. Confident. Measured. Exactly how she always was. At some point, she made another correction. This time about something smaller. A date. Something that didn't matter. But she adjusted it anyway. And again, people nodded. I watched it happen in real time. The pattern. Not aggressive. Not obvious. Just consistent. And for the first time, I saw it from the outside. Not something happening with me. Something happening to me. Dinner wrapped up around 10:40. Bills split. Chairs moved back. Same routine. We walked to the car. Side by side. Not talking. Not because something was wrong. Because nothing needed to be said. She unlocked the door. Sat inside. Checked her phone. You were a bit unclear earlier. Calm tone. No edge. You might want to simplify how you explain things. I nodded. Yeah. Nothing else. We drove home. Streetlights passing in intervals. Orange. Then dark. Orange. Then dark. No music. No conversation. I didn't turn anything on. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did, and it didn't matter. That was the part one couldn't ignore anymore. It didn't matter. I pulled into the driveway at 11:12. Engine still running. Neither of us moved. Then she reached for the door. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Normal. Routine. Like every other night. I nodded. She stepped out. Closed the door. Walked inside. Didn't look back. I stayed in the car. Hands on the steering wheel. Same position. But something was different. I wasn't thinking about what to say next. I wasn't replaying the conversation. I wasn't adjusting anything. I just sat there. And in that silence, something became clear. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just certain. I turned the engine off. And, for the first time in 2 years, I stopped asking myself how I should respond. I already knew. I made one decision that night that changed everything that came after. The next morning felt different. Not better. Not worse. Just quiet. I woke up at 6:58, 2 minutes before my alarm. I didn't reach for my phone. That was new. Usually, I would check messages, reread conversations. Sometimes I would scroll back further than I needed to, looking for tone, looking for something I might have missed, adjusting things in my head before the day even started. This time I didn't. I just lay there, looking at the ceiling. No conversation replay, no corrections, no second versions of what I could have said. There was no urgency, no pressure to prepare. That was the first thing I noticed. I got up slowly, walked into the kitchen, made coffee. No music, no background noise, just the sound of the machine. Water, heat, steam. Simple. I sat down at the table, the same spot I had used for months. Same chair, same angle, but it didn't feel the same. And for a moment, I didn't recognize the feeling. It wasn't relief. It wasn't happiness. It took me a few seconds to place it. It was space. Not more space. Just the right amount. I wasn't shrinking anything. I wasn't editing myself. I wasn't holding anything back in advance. I just existed there. Normally, mornings had structure. Every movement had a reason. Every thought had a direction. That morning didn't. And that was the difference. I checked my phone after a while. No message from her. That was unusual. She usually sent something. A reminder. A correction. A small observation from the night before. Something to adjust. Something to respond to. There was nothing. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, waiting for the familiar pattern. It didn't come. I placed the phone face down. No urge to follow up. No need to explain anything. No need to reopen the conversation. I finished my coffee, got dressed, left the apartment. The air outside felt colder than usual. Or maybe I just noticed it more. I got into my car, sat there for a second, hands on the wheel. Same position as the night before. But something had shifted. The night before, I was still processing. Now, I wasn't. I wasn't waiting. I started the engine. Drove to work. Traffic was light. 7:42. Earlier than usual. I parked. Sat in the car for a moment. Not because I had to. Because I could. And that thought came back. Clear. Simple. Not emotional. I'm done. No explanation attached. No argument prepared. No version of the conversation playing out in advance. Just a decision. I walked into the office. Everything looked the same. Same desks. Same people. Same low conversations near the entrance. But I wasn't rehearsing anything in my head. That was new. Usually there was always something. Something to refine. Something to improve. Something to prepare. There was nothing. I sat down. Opened my laptop. Started working. At 9:17, my phone buzzed. Her name. I looked at it. Didn't reach for it immediately. That alone felt different. Then I picked it up. One message. You left quickly last night. I read it once. No reaction. No instinct to explain. No need to soften anything. I placed the phone back down. Another message. You seemed off. I read that one too. Same feeling. Nothing. No urgency. No correction forming in my head. No version of a reply building itself. I turned the phone face down. Kept working. At 10:03, it rang. I let it ring. Watched the screen light up. Then go dark. A minute later, another message. Call me when you can. I leaned back in my chair. Not thinking about what to say. Just noticing something. I didn't feel pulled. not toward the conversation, not toward fixing anything. That was the difference. Not anger, not frustration, just absence. I picked up the phone, opened the message thread, looked at the last few messages, then typed one sentence. It's over. I read it once. No edits. No second version. No hesitation. And sent it. I placed the phone back on the desk, face down, and went back to work. 3 minutes later, it rang again. Longer this time. More persistent. I didn't answer. I didn't even look at it. Because for the first time in 2 years, I wasn't available. Not for explanation. Not for correction. Not for adjustment. And that's when I realized something clearly. This wasn't a reaction. It was a conclusion. And she hadn't seen it coming at all. She didn't call again after that. Not that morning. Not in the afternoon. No follow-up message. No, we need to talk. Just silence. That told me something. Not about me. About her. She wasn't used to losing control of the conversation. And without that, there wasn't much for her to do. I kept working. Same tasks. Same structure. But something had changed underneath it. There was no second layer running in the background anymore. No adjustments forming while I spoke. No reviewing sentences after I said them. Just focus. At 11:05, I was in a meeting. For people. Conference room on the second floor. Glass walls. The kind where you can see people passing by outside. Someone asked a question about timelines. I answered. Clear. Direct. No extra explanation. No softening. No attempt to make it sound better than it was. Just what it was. There was a pause after I finished. Not awkward. Just complete. They nodded. Moved on. No one adjusted what I said. No one rephrased it. It stayed where I put it. That stood out. More than it should have. Around 12:40, I stepped out for lunch. Same place I usually went. Corner table. I sat down. Ordered without thinking. And for the first time in a long time, I noticed the room. Not as something to navigate. Just something that existed around me. 2 people near the back had stopped eating. Talking quietly. Someone near the door was on a call. Pacing. A waiter dropped a glass. The sound carried for a second. Then everything returned to normal. Small details. Normal details. Things I would usually miss. Because I was always focused on something else. On how I came across. On whether I needed to adjust something. That layer was gone. And without it, everything felt clearer. Not sharper. Just unobstructed. I finished lunch slowly. No rush. No need to get back to anything urgent. When I walked outside, I checked my phone. Still nothing. No new message. No missed call. That absence stayed consistent. And that mattered. Because it confirmed something simple. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't something that needed to be talked through. This was a shift she hadn't prepared for. The rest of the afternoon moved normally. Emails. Small conversations. A quick check-in with someone from another team. At one point, someone asked about a project I had mentioned weeks earlier. I explained it. Brief. Clear. No hesitation. No over-explaining. They asked one follow-up question. I answered it. And that was it. The conversation ended cleanly. No correction. No adjustment. It stayed mine. That difference stayed with me longer than the conversation itself. Around 4:30, I noticed something else. I wasn't tired. Not physically. Mentally. Usually by that point in the day, there was a kind of fatigue. Not from work. From constant adjustment. From thinking 2 steps ahead. From filtering everything. That wasn't there. And the absence of it felt unfamiliar. I stayed later than usual. Not because I had to. Because I didn't feel the need to leave. There was nowhere I needed to be. No conversation waiting. No version of the evening I needed to prepare for. Around 7:20, I packed up, walked to the car. Same walk, same distance, but lighter. Not physically, just mentally. I drove home. No music, just the road. Streetlights passing in intervals. Orange, then dark. Orange, then dark. Same pattern as the night before. But it didn't feel heavy this time. It felt neutral. When I got home, her things were still there. A glass on the counter. Her jacket on the chair. A book she had left open. Small traces. Normal traces. I didn't move them. Didn't need to. I walked into the bedroom. Opened the closet. Her side. Organized. Precise. Exactly how she liked it. I stood there for a moment, not thinking about what it meant, just noticing it. Then I closed the door, not avoiding it, just acknowledging it. This wasn't something that needed to be processed slowly. It was already decided. I made something simple for dinner. Sat at the table. Same spot as the morning. And again, there was no second layer. No internal commentary. No adjustment. Just the moment. At 9:03, my phone buzzed. Her name. One message. Are you serious? I read it once. No reaction. No urge to explain. No need to soften anything. I put the phone down. A few minutes later, another message. You're overreacting. I looked at it, then turned the phone face down again. Because for the first time, I wasn't trying to be understood. I wasn't trying to correct her version of me. I wasn't trying to fix anything. And that changed everything. I didn't block her. Didn't delete anything. There was no need. The distance was already there. And it wasn't something she could close. I went to bed earlier than usual. No scrolling. No replaying conversations. No rehearsing anything. Just sleep. And as I lay there, one thing became clear. This wasn't about leaving her. It was about leaving the version of myself that stayed. And that version was already gone. The next few days were quiet. Not empty. Just uninterrupted. She stopped calling. Stopped messaging. Not completely. Just less. Short messages. Spread out. Can we talk? We should at least discuss this. I read them. Didn't respond. Not out of anger. Just nothing to say. Because anything I said would turn into a conversation. And I wasn't interested in conversations anymore. I was interested in clarity. And that part was already done. By the third day, I started noticing something else. Time felt different. Not slower. Less fragmented. There were no interruptions tied to her anymore. No mental pauses waiting for her reaction. No adjustments mid-thought. Just continuity. I woke up at the same time. 6:50 this time. Made coffee. Sat down. Same routine. But it didn't feel like routine. It felt chosen. I opened my laptop earlier than usual. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to start. That was new. Usually, there was resistance. Not to the work. To the pressure around it. That pressure was gone. And without it, the work felt different. Cleaner. I started moving through things faster. Not rushing. Just without hesitation. Decisions that used to take time didn't. I chose. Moved. No second guessing. No revisiting the same point. That pattern repeated. Throughout the day. Small decisions. Quick. Clear. I noticed it around 10:20. I had finished something that usually took me half a day. I checked it once. Didn't go back. Send it. No second version. No hesitation. That stood out. More than it should have. Around midday, Ryan called. I picked up. Hey, he said. Pause. You good? Yeah. Another pause. You sound different. Probably. He let that sit. Everything okay with Claire? It's done. Another pause. Longer this time. Done. Yeah. No explanation. No details. He didn't push. All right, he said. Then quieter. That makes sense. That stood out. Not the question. The answer. He had seen it. Before I did. We talked for a few more minutes. About nothing important. Then hung up. No follow-up. No advice. Just acknowledgement. That was enough. Later that evening, I went through the apartment. Not everything. Just what was hers. A few items in the kitchen. Clothes in the closet. Small things in the bathroom. Nothing dramatic. No emotional reaction. Just sorting. Placing things into a bag. One by one. There was a photo on the shelf. From a dinner a few months ago. Same group. Same table. I looked at it for a second. Everyone smiling. Claire standing slightly closer to the center. Me slightly behind. Not intentionally. Just where I ended up. I put the photo face down. Didn't throw it away. Just removed it from view. At 8:40, my phone buzzed again. Her name. One message. You're really just going to end it like this? I read it. Then locked the phone. No reply. Because there wasn't anything left to explain. That was the part she didn't understand. This didn't happen suddenly. It just became visible. The decision had already been forming. Quietly. over time, and now, it was complete. I finished packing her things, left the bag near the door. Not as a statement, just placement, something to be collected, not something to revisit. I sat down after that. Same chair, same room, but everything felt different. Not because something had changed around me, because something had stopped. I wasn't trying anymore. Not to be better, not to be clearer, not to be enough. And without that, there was space, real space. I leaned back, didn't reach for my phone, didn't turn on anything, just sat there. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting for the next moment to adjust myself. I was already there, exactly as I was. And that was enough. By the time she realized what had actually happened, it was already done. The next morning felt the same. But this time, I recognized it. I woke up before my alarm. 6:46. No hesitation. No pause between waking up and getting up. That used to be there. That small gap, where I would lie still for a few seconds, thinking about what needed to be handled, what needed to be said, what needed to be adjusted. That gap was gone. I got up, walked into the kitchen, made coffee. Same routine, same steps, but nothing in it felt automatic. It felt chosen. I sat at the table, same chair, same position, and for a moment, I just stayed there, not thinking about what came next, not preparing anything, just existing. And that feeling came back, stronger this time, clearer. It wasn't relief. It wasn't freedom. It was proportion. I was taking up the right amount of space. Not less, not slightly reduced, not adjusted, just correct. That was new. I opened my laptop earlier than usual. No resistance, no delay, just started. And things moved. Not dramatically, not in a way you could point to immediately, just forward. Emails that led somewhere, conversations that didn't stall, decisions that held after they were made. I didn't revisit things, didn't second guess, didn't adjust after the fact. I chose, moved. That became the pattern. Around 9:30, something small happened. A conversation that normally would have stretched ended quickly, not abruptly, cleanly. I said what I needed to say. They understood it, and that was it. No clarification, no correction. It stayed where I put it. That difference stayed with me, more than it should have. By 11:20, I had moved through more work than I usually did by midday. Not because I was pushing, because I wasn't interrupting myself. That was the shift. I stepped out for lunch around 1:05. Same place, same walk. But this time I noticed something. I didn't choose the table based on visibility, or position, or how I might be perceived. I just sat down, wherever I stopped. That stood out, more than it should have. I ordered, waited, looked around. People talking, eating, moving, normal. But I wasn't placing myself inside it anymore. I wasn't adjusting my presence relative to anyone else. I was just there. That was the difference. After lunch, I walked back slowly. No rush. No need to get ahead of anything. The day continued. Work moved. Not because something external had changed, because something internal had stopped. I wasn't editing myself anymore. I wasn't filtering. I wasn't preparing for correction. And without that, everything aligned. Around 3:40, I noticed something else. Clarity, not in a dramatic way, just absence of noise. No second voice. No internal version of Claire's tone. No subtle expectation sitting behind decisions. That was gone. And without it, everything felt simpler. Not easier, just direct. At 4:45, my phone buzzed. Her name. I looked at it. Didn't open it. Let's sit. A few seconds. Then the screen went dark. I didn't pick it up, because there was nothing in that message that belonged to me anymore. Not the tone, not the expectation, not the version of me it assumed. That part was finished. I left work at 6:10, walked to the car. Same distance, same steps, but it didn't feel like I was leaving something behind. It felt like I was continuing something. That was new. I drove home. No music, just the road. And for once, that was enough. When I got home, the bag was still by the door, untouched, exactly where I left it. I looked at it for a second, not thinking about what it meant, just noticing it, then walked past it, not avoiding it, just not engaging with it. It would be picked up, or it wouldn't. Either way, it didn't change anything. I made dinner, sat down, same table, same chair, and again, there was no second layer, no internal commentary, no adjustment, just a moment. And for the first time, I understood something clearly. It wasn't that she had been holding me back. It was that I had been adjusting myself. Downward, quietly, consistently, for 2 years, believing it was accurate, believing it was necessary, believing I was mostly the problem. That word stayed with me. Mostly, not entirely, just enough to keep me there, just enough to keep me adjusting, until I stopped. And when I stopped, everything started moving. Not all at once, not in a way anyone else could see immediately, but consistently. Forward. That's the part no one tells you. Sometimes the relationship that ends you is the one that finally starts you. If you've ever had to step away from something that slowly made you smaller, stay with this. Subscribe. There's more like this coming. And I want to hear from you. At what point would you have left? Or would you have stayed longer? Because for me, it took 2 years to realize something simple. I was never beneath her. I was just acting like I was. And the moment I stopped, everything changed. There's another story I'll tell soon. It starts in a place that felt completely stable. Until it wasn't.